I'm Corbitt with DVAuction, here with your feeder flash for Thursday, October the 2nd, brought to you in part by Specialty Risk Insurance. Kevin Charleston there in Carthage, Missouri has a huge team, most of them with ag business experience. They can cover all your insurance needs in ag business, including LRP, PRF, workman's comp on your farm, and all your farm assets, including sale barns. They can do a turnkey deal on your sale barn from one end to the other, guys. They are working to protect your livelihood. For more information, go to specialtyrisk.com. It's October, and the same thing that happens every October is happening this October. The sick pens are getting full of calves, new purchases of calves, and guys aren't quite loving them as much as they do the yearlings that they've been selling, and they're starting to back off of them a little bit. There's always a week or two in the month of October where your supply is going to outweigh the demand of calves, no matter what the market is, including when it's as high as it is now, or especially. Your feeder cattle are also getting hard to pencil despite the cheap cost of gains. These feeder cattle have been so high and have been high. The gains have been good, but it's just getting tougher to pencil because you look at your out months of your live cattle futures and they're lower than what they've been, and it's getting harder to make them work. Corn is cheap, and it's starting to pile up on the ground in the corn belt, and we're starting to see that more and more. And so the more and more that corn starts to pile up out there, the more and more that your farmer feeders up there in the corn belt are going to be on the front end of buying these feeder cattle to feed and walk that corn to town. But your beef cow slaughter continues to be really light. It's down 12% for the year here, beef cow slaughter, and your steers and heifers are making up a larger percentage of the kill, even though the kill is extremely tight. Fresh 90s, which is the leanest cow beef that you can get, is up 22% on price compared to a year ago. Mexico deal is not put to bed yet. Of course, the Secretary Rollins, Ag Secretary, has complained about the latest case that they found just a little ways, about 70 miles south of the Texas border, and kind of implying that it's going to be a long time before they reopen the border for Mexican cattle coming into the United States. But Mexico is still stirring down there a little bit. We saw reports earlier this week that Mexico is not really excited about the limits that they put on them moving cattle around the country of Mexico. They want to do what they've always been doing and move cattle all around Mexico, but the USDA is not wanting them to move those cattle from Central America points up into the northern parts of the state where we import cattle from Mexico. But also on Wednesday, we saw the Mexico's NCBA president equivalent, which is Homer Garcia, the National Cattlemen's Confederation president of Mexico, or El Presidente. He says the border will open up in November, moving cattle from Mexico into the United States. Now, maybe he knows something we don't know, but we'll have to keep our ear to that. I'm going to be seeing the Ag Secretary later this month in Fallon, Nevada, and she's going to be there at a roundtable discussion, and I'm looking forward to seeing what she says about that. Want to tell you about Cammon. Cammon is a product that helps with buying cattle in the fall run. You've got a lot of investment in these cattle. Clostat is a feed technology from Cammon that targets intestinal health to fend off pathogens like Clostridium, Salmonella, E. coli, and more, creating a more healthy environment for your cattle. Less pulls and less mortality. For more information, go to Cammon, KEMIN.com. Let's talk about your board on Wednesday. October live cattle futures down 75 cents at 231.10. December was down 27 at 234.50. Your back months were unchanged to up 57, and most of them were up, so they're starting to come up a little bit. October feeder cattle down 205 at 358.97. November down 175 at 357.60. And your back months were all mixed up from down 102 to up 92 on your far outs. Let's talk about your grain. Chicago Board of Trade corn futures for December, new crop up 2 3/4 cents at just 4.18 1/4. I think I might have said $3 corn on the last visit. I'm sorry about that. Might have given somebody a heart attack. November beans up 13 1/4 cents a bushel at 10.15. And hard red winter wheat for December down 2 1/4 cents a bushel at 4.95 1/2. Your fat cattle trade did start to develop a little bit on Wednesday in the northern plains, where they're all backed up on market ready cattle. Iowa sold 1,450 head. They've sold 1,800 head for the week. Live price in Iowa on Wednesday was $227 to $230. And dress price is $360. That's $5 lower on a dress basis. Nebraska, 6,500 sold. Pretty good movement on Wednesday. 86.50 for the week. And the only live price we saw in Nebraska on Wednesday was $230. And some of those cattle traveling north to Kansas, packing plants there out from that. Dress price in Nebraska, $353 to $360. Kansas didn't have any confirmed sales on Wednesday. They did show up with some on Tuesday late at $233. Not sure about those, but that would be $4 lower than last week. Texas didn't have any sales and haven't had all week. Had a couple of fat cattle auctions. Sioux Falls Regional Livestock in Worthing, South Dakota had about 950 head for the slaughter cattle auction. Market was $2 to $3 lower on fed cattle. Conventional fed cattle selling from $225 to $233. Program cattle from $230 to $235. Up at Glacial Lakes Livestock in Watertown, South Dakota, they had about 700 head for their slaughter cattle auction. Market on fed cattle was $2 lower. Conventional fed cattle selling from $227 to $235. And program cattle there selling from $232 to $241. They also had Holstein steers selling from $210 to $226, and big fat fed cows from $172 to $180. Box beef cutout values lower again, hard on choice. Choice cuts down $2.56 at $368.47. Selects down 36 cents at $346.89. We're expecting the demand from the holiday run to come into your box beef cutout market here beginning pretty soon, because they're going to be having Christmas parties and things like that before too long, and your retailers want to be flush with stock of those best cuts as we get closer to that, and it's coming up before too long, guys. So look for a rally here before long on your box beef cutout values. Your slaughter so far up through the first 3 days of the week, 348,000 head estimated cattle slaughter. That's 3,000 less than this point last week, 21,000 less than this point a year ago. Talk about what else is going on. Valley Grande Ranch and feeders there. I was able to tour that facility last week with Mark Archibald. Really impressed with him and the entire process there. He included his brothers there, and they're all working right there on the operation. His 91-year-old dad hangs out in the main office there. Got Fox News on all the time, keeping up on what all's going on. It's in Lodgepole, South Dakota, just south of the North Dakota border. It's on the eastern side. It's right between your big ranches in the west and your corn belt. It's got a good location there. And I was very impressed with the whole operation. They've got everything cleaned out, all the pens completely cleaned out, everything ready to go for your balling calves. Now, if you've got balling calves, you're looking for a place to go with them, you don't want to wean them yourself, you can send them to them. They'll straighten them out, put them on feed, get them to gaining weight. You can grow them there. You can take them all the way to finish there at Valley Grande if you want to. They've got a good reputation and documented history of 1 to 2% death loss. And it's looking like, I was talking with March there last week, looking like it's going to be an under 80-cent cost of gain, even on your ball and calves, guys. Get them in there. They've got a process, and they've got a lot of experience in it. The waters, when you first put them in there, they're cleaning out the waters 5 times a day for those new arrivals, and 3 times a day on the other cattle. The water's clean enough for you and I to drink. They've got a lot of feed there. They've got all kinds of wind breaks and protection from the weather. It'll be a good place to send your ball and calves to get them straightened up. If you're in a sale barn and you see some ball and calves that you like, you think they'll buy the ball and calves at the sale barn, send them to Valley Grande, let them straighten them out, guys. For more information, go to archbro, archbro.com. Talk about your feeder cattle market, brought to you by Specialty Risk Insurance. Of course, they're working to protect your livelihood. Your real-time index after your Wednesday sales had all concluded there, according to DVAuction, sitting at 359.44 based on an 800-pound cash auction steer, down another 390. So the market's cheaper in the auctions on these feeder cattle, guys, and especially the calves. Latest CME cash feeder cattle index sitting at 364.71. Talk about your big sales that happened on Wednesday. Of course, OKC West in El Reno, Oklahoma, 7,450 head. A year ago, they had 6,400. So people are bringing them to town a little bit quicker, guys. Market was lower, and that is a market that kind of hinges on your corporate interest there. Feeder steers were $10 to $15 lower. Some of your 8 weights only $4 lower. Feeder heifers $15 to $18 lower. Steer calves $10 to $15 lower, and heifer calves $10 to $20 lower. Market reporter did say that the offering was plainer than usual, so they weren't sparking on them calves and not as much northern interest on them. And also noted that it's a little bit early for your wheat. A lot of guys still sowing their wheat. OKC West was your best test of the market and was your superior steel sales. Superior standard equipment there, that they got their cattle equipment with that brand name Superior Standard, or your stick out sale of the day. Look at this automated market report just from Wednesday's sale there at El Reno. 993 head of 7-weight steers, averaged 766 pounds with a weighted average price of $369.40. 1,343 head of the 8-weight steers averaged $859 at $348.56. 610 head of 9-weight steers in El Reno averaged $963 at $324.42. Look at your heifers. They had 227 head of 5-weight feeder heifers, averaged 579 pounds at $386.71. 556 head of the 6-weight heifers averaged 639 at $376.39. 571 head of the 7-weight heifers averaged 757 at $338.30, and 225 head of 8-weight heifers in El Reno averaged 822 pounds with a weighted average price of $323.11. A sale I want you to be thinking about here coming up this weekend is Mocan Livestock Market there in Butler, Missouri. The Herzogs there, they're having a special stock cow sale coming up Saturday, October the 4th. They're going to have 1,000 head of bred heifers, bred cows, and cow-calf pairs, and the quality will be absolutely outstanding, guys. You can get on there at DVAuction.com for Mocan Livestock Market. Going to give you several quotes from all around the circuit. Happened on Wednesday. Creston Livestock Market, that's one of our favorites there. They had that big special that happened on Wednesday. And you remember I was telling you about Justin Peterson bringing in a whole swath of feeder heifers. Ended up 787 head of heifers sold in loads. They had 12 loads of those feeder heifers. that weighed from a 711 to 932, but on the average of the loads, they averaged 833 pounds a load of those feeder heifers, brought 327.10 on the average of the loads, $2,725 for those feeder heifers. You see why he sells them at Creston, Iowa. Parsons livestock auction, Parsons, Kansas, sold 90 steers weighed 848 at $374 on Wednesday. Green City Livestock Marketing in Green City, Missouri, up in the Green Hills of Missouri, sold heifers high. 188 head of 722-pound heifers bring $375. How about Cherokee Sales Company in Cherokee, Oklahoma? That's western Oklahoma. 82 steers weighed 575 at $471. Bassett Livestock Auction had kind of a short sale there, but impressive quotes on yearlings. 237 head of 885-pound yearling steers bring $382.25. Wow. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere on Wednesday, and it actually come in extremely late on Tuesday, was way out west at Toppenish Livestock Commission in Toppenish, Washington. You may not know about that sale. I was out there just a couple of years ago and did a speaking engagement at that sale. I got to meet John Topp, who's the owner of that sale and runs the operations there. If that name sounds familiar, he is the father of Zach Topp, the most impressive new country music star that we've seen come on the circuit since Cody Johnson. And as far as me, I thought, why do I feel such a connection to Zach Topp and the music that he plays? Because he's a sale barn kid, just like I was. But I love Zach Topp's music, and I figure you guys probably do. I don't listen to much new music. I'm mostly on Willie's Roadhouse or Fox News when I'm traveling, but I do love Zach Topp's music there. And his dad, John Topp, sold 58 steers on Tuesday night late, weighed 624, and bring 434 there in Toppenish, Washington. And that's your feeder flash for Thursday.